UFC went just wild announcing fights over the week. So let's break some of these down, shall we? The big news, I think, coming out of all of it is Ilia Topuria is vacating the championship in the featherweight division and moving up to 155 pounds. Apparently, with a fight with Makhachev isn't a guarantee right away, but I still don't mind this. Topuria has beaten the biggest names that there are at 145 pounds, and so let him be great. Let him go up, try to do his thing at 155 against Islam Makhachev, who you do have limited time with. Get this fantastic champ v champ matchup now, and instead of we missed our window with Makhachev, like, no, let's go do this now. And you still have enough good fighters at 145 pounds, and honestly, this opens up a few other good ones to potentially get an opportunity at a championship. And so I think this is a solid move. And apparently the big talk coming out of this is that the UFC doesn't want double champs anymore. And I can understand that. Like, it does kind of hold things up in divisions. And when you have a talent-rich kind of area like 155 and 145 is, I don't think you want to be doing a whole lot of holding up right now. So I think that it makes a whole lot of sense. And it does open the door now for Diego Lopez to take on Alex Volkanovski for the championship at 145 pounds. Lopez is a really, really exciting prospect and has just been knocking everybody out. Volkanovski is the old standard at 145. So this is a very fantastic fight and a good bit of matchmaking here for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. UFC 314 got a bunch of fights, including Paddy Pimblett taking on Michael Chandler at 155 pounds. Pimblett, he gets another veteran to kind of work his way through here. This one is a step up, though. Like, I don't think Chandler is going to be in title contention, but he is still a step ahead of where Bobby Green was and where Tony Ferguson was. So there is, I think, still a test here for Paddy Pimblett to see where is he. It is a big name, and they are trying to build up Pimblett as a big name. So this makes sense for him. For Michael Chandler, again, he has lost 4 of his last 5. He still feels like more of a threat than the other guys, but that threat level is fading. And I think a loss here against Paddy Pimblett, and we are really talking about, like, what are we doing here? And there's one fight left for him, probably. We'll talk about that in a second. If a loss happens, win or lose, honestly. But, yeah, it is a fight for relevancy, I think, for Michael Chandler, because you can be exciting, and we can feel bad about the layoff all we want. You got to win, though. And he hasn't been doing a whole lot of that lately. Patricio, Pitbull, is going to be making his UFC debut against Yair Rodriguez. This should be wild. Pitbull is a Bellator legend, bringing some all-action fights, and that will include a fight with Yair Rodriguez. It does feel like we are setting up for Pitbull against Chandler. It was a hellacious rivalry out in Bellator. The guys legitimately don't seem to enjoy each other's company. And so I think we are kind of building towards that win or lose, honestly, for both of these guys. UFC 315 in Montreal gets a couple of title fights, albeit not the biggest names. As first, it's Belal Muhammad defending the Welterweight Championship against Jack Della Maddalena. Belal has been kind of upping his trash talk game a little bit lately. It is a bit surprising it's not against Shevchenko, but Rakhmonov saying that he is dealing with an injury. And JDM, he's been on a great run. It includes a good win over Gilbert Burns in his last fight, getting him into the title picture here. So if it wasn't going to be Shevchenko, the timing wasn't really adding up for Belal. Get him another fight. Put it in Montreal, a very strong fight city, and let's go to work and see what they can get out of that one. Valentina Shevchenko will be defending her flyweight championship against Manon Fiorot. Fiorot has been beating a number of top contenders, and so at some point it's just like, well, I guess she is the top contender now. Interested to see what Shevchenko has as she now gets to focus on an opponent that isn't Alexa Grasso, which has been kind of her focus for the last year and a half. So really exciting to see what she does with a new challenger here. And there is a immediate challenge to the pound-for-pound throne that she sits on right now with Zhang Weili, beating Tatiana Suarez, and now kind of pushing up on that number 1 spot, pound for pound. So Shevchenko with a chance to really solidify that when they get to Montreal. Also added to UFC 315, it is Alexa Grasso taking on Natalia Silva. That's been added to the UFC 315 card. Grasso with a chance to kind of show what she learned after a very tough showing in the trilogy against Shevchenko. It was a bit of an underwhelming performance for her. And so that there needs to be some growth now, because that was really underwhelming for a trilogy fight for Grasso. Silva gets a good step up here after winning 8 in a row, moving up in the rankings in the women's flyweight division. I I think that this is a good test to see where both of these fighters are at right now. UFC London getting a new main event as Sean Brady takes on Leon Edwards. Brady is coming off of a couple of good wins over Gastelum and Gilbert Burns to get what kind of looks like a title eliminator. It is not a soft landing spot for Leon Edwards coming off of his loss to Belal last year. So a chance, I think you're creating a challenger out of this either way. Now, that depends on what Shevchenko is doing with his injury. If he is still around, then that is still the fight that you make. But if Shevchenko's injury is a little bit more long-term, it puts now Brady or Leon Edwards right in line for potential championship fight opportunity. One other bit of fight news. We didn't, just based on how the last couple of weeks have gone, we haven't really had a chance to discuss UFC 312 on this program with Dricus du Plessis picking up a victory over Sean Strickland. It was an underwhelming performance from Strickland, and now he and his coach, Eric Nixick, are parting ways. And I think this makes a lot of sense for Nixick. He was giving very clear, urgent, but obvious instructions to Sean Strickland, and Strickland was obviously not going along with them at all. He was yes-sirring in the cage, but then he was going out and implementing exactly none of it in the octagon. And that, if I'm a coach, I'm like, look, man, I'm here to coach champions. This guy wasn't fighting like that, and so I need to be done. I don't think it needed to be as public as it ended up being, although a lot of things with Sean Strickland are. And it is kind of putting Strickland on the defensive a little bit. And he has been very vocal about a lot of things. Not all of them are easy to support. And so being tied to that guy is probably honestly a little exhausting anyway. And now you have him not fighting at the level that you think he should be fighting at and not following the instructions you think he should be following. Why would you stick around with that guy? So I think a good move here from Nixick. And again, Sean Strickland is going to have a lot to prove in whatever his next fight is going to be.